The Every Point Sports Podcast featuring Greg and Jack starts right now.
Oh, welcome in everyone to the Every Point Sports Podcast. I'm Jack Stash. We've got the Old Gamer GK Entertainment. Greg Kratzer with us. How are we feeling today, brother?
Oh, we're feeling great. Every Sunday we're feeling great. You know, if you're not
Finally
working on
playoffs,
Sundays, if you're not working Sundays, if you're home to watch your sports, whether it's football, whether it's your basketball, your baseball, whatever you're into, it's a good day, right? Right? No? Not a good day?
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to do this real quick so I can.
Gotcha. But yeah, we're doing wonderful here. We're doing wonderful over here. Guys, listen, we are just really quick. We are 130 subscribers away from 3,000 over on YouTube. So guys, please jump over there, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button to the videos. You guys are doing freaking awesome for me. You guys are doing awesome. Almost 3,000. Guys, when we started this almost a year ago, I was at 28. 28. I'm 130 away from 3,000. So guys,
Hey.
awesome. All right, guys. So what do we got today? We got some 2 games
What
today.
I'm at 117. My personal page on the we're getting there organically.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels good. Every single person that we have, they're great listeners. They do participate, and headed north feels good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not in every case, right? Because it is cold up north, man.
You don't need to tell me. I'm up here in PA. We got some almost single digit days coming up. Snowstorm brewing tonight. So, but yeah, getting a little chilly up here.
It is up north, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, guys, a little bit different with my channel than Jack's channel. Jack's channel fully focuses on just sports, period. My channel is an entertainment channel. I focus on everything from sports to gaming to tech, pop culture with movies, comics, stuff like that. So like I got a little bit more going on at my channel. I've been around for a little bit longer. I probably a lot a bit longer. But so I have a bit of a jump start. But guys, we need to get over to Fantasy Farm Sports. We need to subscribe over there and get Jack's numbers up for him too.
I appreciate that. We got good ideas.
Dude, you have some great content over there. He does your breakdown as far as fantasy rankings. He has some special streams throughout the week that goes over key basketball games throughout the basketball season. So guys, so make sure you definitely hop over, check him out. Even Facebook, follow him over there too.
You know what I'm most proud of this year? I really am. I am most proud of Saquon Barkley. I had as the number 1 running back.
Mm-hmm.
I had it. Nobody else did. Everybody loved McCaffrey. I love McCaffrey. I just thought when I was dissecting everything that the carries were a little high.
Mm-hmm.
Carries were a little high for me the previous year, and I just thought, then number 1, if they want to go far, they got to dial it back. He ended up with issues before what I predicted, but Saquon Barkley, I just got it stuck in my head. I felt good.
No, you were definitely right on that. Unfortunately, we'll never know fully whether or not McCaffrey could have unseated Barkley as that number 1 back this year because of the injuries to him. But no, absolutely. No, you had some great fantasy rankings this year. I was right up there with you. The last 2 years I was on Barkley. I had Barkley last year in my fantasy league. I thought he was going to kill it last year. So I totally agreed with you. We both thought Derrick Henry is going to have a good year over in Baltimore. He had a good year there too. So no, absolutely. You should be pounding your chest on that, because you're right. These mainstream media people, they listen. They're on TV for a reason. They played the sport. They know what they're talking about to a degree, but they regurgitate the same thing over and over and over. Every one of these guys. That's why you need to listen to Jack and I, because we
Yeah.
don't. We don't. We look for that little outlie of a story. We don't look for that mainstream. What the heck is going on? We like to look on the outside, seeing. All right. Well, you know what? Everybody's saying A is going to be number one. I don't think so. I think B or C might be number one. So we'll stick our necks out for that. And a lot of times we are right, but sometimes we are wrong with those things. But for the most part, we are definitely right, especially when it comes to fantasy stuff.
There's always a gray area, right? And if you can really look at the story, I mean, sit there and write. That's what we do. I've got, sheets and sheets of paper. I don't know. You got, there's probably 60 sheets there, and it's just kind of ideas about when the story comes out. We just kind of write an idea down, and after the idea is written, you go, okay, well, how do you think this happened? It didn't just happen how it was given to you, right? Oh, this guy was interviewed or that guy was interviewed. Well, how do you think it? Real quick, I think it was kind of interesting. I think Fox tried to get Tom Brady fired last night. I think they started asking him what he thought about Ben Johnson. And Tom was like, well, I think he's a good coach and he's a good offense coordinator. He's really done a fine job for Detroit. I was like, boy, you just skipped a hurdle there, buddy, because that dude's been in Vegas all week.
All week. Yep. Everybody knows he's going to be the next head coach there.
Yeah, Tom was just sitting there. He's like, well, I've never had lunch with him.
I'd like to see how bad Brady was sweating at that point. We never see Brady sweat. I bet you Brady started sweating at that point.
I'll tell you what, all those Botox lines started to move, lower.
Dude, I wonder if he knew there was going to be this much red tape if he would have ended up taking that Fox job.
It's interesting, right? So I'm not there yet, right? But we're both getting older. Everybody's getting older, right? Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, you'll be older. 5-10 minutes, you'll be older.
Listen, I'll be older, but June, and I'll be 50 in June, man.
All right, so when you can't just, you won't have to work a steady job. So retire means to be completely done. And I think he was looking at different avenues. One opened up, he took it, and then was like, well, I want to take the year off and try to get good at it. And he took the year off, and I think he looked at a bunch of different things. And he went, geez, I could do this or I could do this. And he didn't really know what he would like or what he got. Maybe you like fly fishing. Maybe you like golfing. Maybe you want to get good at this, or maybe you like to knit. There's lots of things now because you have time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always been Tom versus time. And I think it's really interesting that, he's like, okay, well, how much can I do this over here without getting in trouble over here? He was always able to go into the defensive coordinator's office and lend them a hand. Just because he was a quarterback didn't mean that he couldn't, help them with coverages, because he's done it before. Mm-hmm. And, so I think it's really, it's being hand tied a little bit has kind of made him a little antsy.
I just mean as far as being an owner with the Raiders now. Like, there's so much red tape from him being able to perform his job as a broadcaster and his job as an owner now. Like, the NFL came down with a long-ass list for him, and they were very cut and dry with it. You verge from any of this, there's going to be major consequences.
Yeah, well, he's been in court with Roger Goodell before.
Yeah, he's kind of used to it. He's there twice.
Put on your best suit. Tell them you don't know anything about PSI. He was cold that day.
I went to Michigan. I'm just a dumb jock. I don't know anything.
Do these gloves fit? No. And what are we gonna do here?
Oh, you can't quit.
Oh man, what do you want? You want to start with coaching news?
Yeah, why not? So coaching news. We got McCarthy on a lot of people's list here. Briefly before we were talking about that, he possibly didn't be the next Bears head coach.
I don't think he's going to end up in Chicago. Mm-hmm. I really don't. Okay. I know that they said that they wanted him. I'll tell you what. There's great instances that could happen. I think McCarthy goes to New Orleans. I really do. I think he gets the most out of. Look, New Orleans doesn't want to be in the Derek Carr business anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the Derek Carr business because they thought he was going to be like a little bit like Breeze. And by the way, they'll always have the NFL Network talking nicely about their team because David Carr works there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, these are some things that are truths. I think McCarthy can squeeze the most juice out of the rest of the Derek Carr contract. And there's not a lot left. And when he does that, he's promised that he gets to pick his own guy. Well, the last time McCarthy got to pick or have any say in his own guy was back in Green Bay. Did all right there. So I think if he goes to New Orleans, that's best for him. And it's best for New Orleans. I don't think he's the greatest talent, but I do believe that there is enough talent there. And by the way, no one wants that New Orleans job.
No. They're still in cap hell, still next year.
Right.
The only person to truly win there has been Sean Payton. Besides him, nobody's won there. And Sean Payton proved he could win anywhere. Sean Payton. Since when he took over that Denver job and they went to the playoffs this year, he just proved he can win anywhere. He turned that franchise around in a year, 1 year.
Yeah, that's
crazy. So I'm with you. Anybody that I don't personally like McCarthy. Period. I said that before. I think he's an average coach. I think Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl in spite of McCarthy. So therefore, I think even if he goes to New Orleans, it is what it is. He's going to fail there. But I think a lot of coaches are going to fail there.
I think it's a positive, though. I really, it's he'll get what he can get out of Derek Carr. Done. Whatever. He has a good first year, and then he has a bad second year. You're out of that contract. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then you get to, and if you have a real bad second year, which is really what you want, right? Then you get to choose your own quarterback. I think, and by the way,
if he lasts that
I know everyone's like, oh, well, this guy's going to go here. This guy's going to go there. What if New Orleans ended up with their second Manning of all time? Just a thought, because Arch will be ready then. And Archie, once upon a time, went to New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And McCarthy does do a good job getting the most juice out of quarterbacks. It's just a story, right? It could happen. I'm not saying, but it does need to be put out there because in 2 years, it will be out there, and we're ahead of it already.
I think if New Orleans has that number one pick to get Archie Manning when he comes out, because that's what's going to take, I don't think McCarthy's going to have a job. They didn't let Dennis Allen finish out his contract, let alone McCarthy.
Dennis Allen was doing terrible stuff, though. Dennis Allen was punishing
he needed
players.
Some time to. That defense was still playing decent, though.
No,
and that's what he is. He's a defensive guy.
What he did something crazy. He fined Kendre Miller for showing up with the wrong cleats at practice, like $20,000, and then he told him that he wasn't going to play the ensuing. He was going to suspend him for 2 days. It was listen. Here's what ends up happening. You do something like that, and obviously the players liked. If the players liked, like, you just started your own war inside your building, right? And you didn't have to go that far. I'm sure it wasn't that big of a deal. Dennis Allen's a jerk. And listen, maybe you can get away with jerk stuff at, like, smaller colleges or colleges that don't participate very well in college football, and they're trying to get better and build some type of mean, strong culture. But you don't do that to somebody,
Well, Dennis Allen actually had some of the best defenses in recent memories in the NFL. He's been a hell of a defensive coordinator. But anyways, just speaking of how coaches do stupid stuff like that, there's a story LaShawn McCoy told about Chip Kelly when Chip Kelly got there. He goes, Chip Kelly, he goes, I'm black, I like to wear black socks. He goes, Chip Kelly wanted me to wear white socks. So we butted heads about that. But I bent. I wore the socks that he wanted. He goes, where I drew the line was, he called me in his office the one day. And he's like, listen, he goes, everything all right? I see you only got like 3 hours of sleep last night or the day before, whichever day it was. And
Yeah, yeah.
LeSean McCoy's like, well, yeah, and how do you know this? He goes, well, I told you guys I'm tracking everything from your sleep patterns to what you're eating, blah, 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 blah. And LeSean McCoy goes, that was it. He goes, as soon as he told me that, he goes, I'm done. He goes, you're tracking me? You're when I'm not even at my job? He goes, no, I'm done. He goes, that's when I cashed out. Shortly after that, I was traded away. But he goes, Chip Kelly, he overstepped his boundaries. We're men. We don't
Yeah.
need to have our sleep patterns dissected. I understand what Chip was trying to do. He was trying to get the best out of his athletes. He was trying to optimize what they could do with the right sleep, the right nutrition, the right this, the right that, the same way he did at Oregon. He did the same thing at Oregon, but the difference was he was dealing with kids that would listen to him.
Well, and you have to do all those things when you're not a great athlete. And Chip Chip doesn't do those things. But, when you're trying to get the best out of yourself and you don't have that special gene, right? But listen, you have to understand some people got it. Kwame Brown was just telling a story the other day and it lends to this. He goes, I stayed up all night and played cards with Mike. He goes, I want to be friends with him. I sat there and played cards with him till probably 3:30 in the morning. And I said, how is this guy going to get up and be at practice for 5:00 in the morning? This old guy is not going to be. I cannot wait to be there waiting for him. He goes, I don't. The dude was there at 4:30. He's like, he just did it to prove a point. I don't know if he takes. I don't know if he sleeps. To be quite honest. What's Nick saying? He disagrees because an investment in the job is to protect their investment. Look, your job is availability, and their job is to move off you if you're not available. That's really the short of things, right? And Allen Iverson goes out to a club at 3:00 in the morning, and he doesn't have a game till 7:00 tomorrow morning, to the night after. And this is how he unwinds, and he goes out and drops 35. What do you care? You only care about the production. You can't run somebody's life. You really can't.
And I listen, you can do the whole clause with the motorcycles and the whole clause you shouldn't don't play basketball in the off season, like stuff like that. You actually get injured doing. I'm talking about a simple sleep pattern. Yes, you're detrimental when you don't get enough sleep. I think if you don't get more than 4 hours of sleep, it's the same thing as testing plus in a breathalyzer. That's your mind thinks the same way as being drunk. But it's sleep. It's something different. Yeah, but no, he wasn't even out at the club. He just said I couldn't sleep. He was at his own house.
I mean,
And listen, and I agree with that. Nothing good. Listen, if you're a professional athlete, they always say, Herm Williams always said that, or Herm Edwards, nothing good happens after midnight. And another thing he always said is, don't hit send.
I mean, look, it's true. Nothing good happens after midnight. But, if you are, again, we're talking about special talents, right? LeSean McCoy was a special talent. We'll stick in Philadelphia. Allen Iverson was a special talent. Mike Tyson, Babe Ruth. I mean, you can go down the line. It's some guys.
Lawrence Taylor. He was fucking hopped up. I'm sorry. I need to watch my language when we're on this a little bit more. But he was hopped up on coke his whole career.
It does.
Imagine if he wasn't. Imagine if Lawrence Taylor took care of his body like today's athletes do.
I mean, who knows? Because my body, my temple doesn't seem to be producing better games.
No, not for everybody, but Tom Brady, it did.
Tom Brady doesn't. He activated the best he could, that athletic gene.
Yeah,
doesn't really have it.
He was at best above average athlete. High school, going into college, he kind of had that clutch gene where he was able to see the field a little bit, but he never had the strongest arm. There was a report. Everything he did, he worked hard for. He perfected what was best for his body.
Well, how about this? There was Tom Brady used to smoke. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, Tom Brady. There was a guy took a picture of him and Giselle in New York having a cigarette. Right? She used to smoke. She was a model, and
Mhm.
he paid him an obscene amount of money for the photo. And he's like, "Look," he goes, "I you'll never see me
Yeah,
smoking ever
I did
again.
hear that before. Yeah,
Yeah,
I did
you'll
hear the
never see
story
me
before.
smoking ever
Mhm.
again." And by the way, this was after a few Super Bowls, so Tom smoked,
Mhm.
you know, and it's not the first time, but they're just they can do things that you can't. They just
Mhm.
have a gene. I can't. You could sprint as fast as you can. You're not as fast as that guy, and you can learn all the stuff that that guy does. Your
Mhm.
hips won't move that way, your knees won't move that way. I wish I could. I've got a big mouth, so I use it. Not everybody has a big mouth that they could brag about. Yeah, he couldn't run because he was smoking. No, but Tom didn't like that. He'll probably come on here and sue me for saying that, but it's an absolute it's I'm telling you. I read the report and Tom was not happy. He paid a lot of money for this not to get out. And if you'd like to come on the podcast and refute it, we'd be happy to have him.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, that's one thing. Tom Brady has always been very surgical when it comes to his image.
Yeah, little clean.
Yeah. Mhm. Yep.
Little clean. I mean,
Mhm.
more clean than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was like, "Listen, I gamble." What do
Michael
you
Jordan didn't care. He really didn't. He did not care about his image. He didn't care that he was vilified on the court. He didn't care that he was known as a gambler. He's like, listen, my game speaks for itself. You guys want to talk shit on my game? Go ahead, but I'm going to be one of the greatest of all time.
It was interesting. As Michael got older, and maybe we all do this, right? As he got older, he became more like his dad.
Mhm.
Right, so, like, his dad was a big baseball nut. He was proud that Michael made it basketball, they did it together, all these things, but he was a big baseball nut,
Yeah.
and he used to listen to baseball games, not watch them, 'cause, they were from North Carolina, not the richest family. They used to listen to baseball games while he'd fix cars. What's Michael Jordan do now? Well, he owns a NASCAR team.
Mhm.
So, as he's gotten older, he's gotten into his father's into smoking cigars. His dad smoked a couple packs of cigarettes a day.
Mhm.
No secret. I mean, his dad had the gambling problem, not really Michael. Michael had the money to
Well,
cover it.
yeah. Yeah, Michael had a bit of an issue where he wanted to gamble with everything that he did, but you know.
Well, there's a little Pete Rose in all of us, isn't there?
There is. There
Um,
is.
yeah, but all right, so I guess let's move on from New Orleans
Mhm.
and let's talk about this Dallas job because it's probably the most
It's probably
coveted
the most intriguing job out there, just
or
because of who it is, because it's
Dallas and
Dallas.
Chicago.
Yeah, but it's definitely Dallas because of who it is. Dallas is the number one franchise in the NFL worldwide. That they have I hate to say it, the biggest fan base. So yeah, it Dallas job.
Oh.
I listen. I totally agree. It kills
Oh.
me. My heart is breaking even saying these things, but I'm just trying to be truthful. It is the biggest job out there right now. That is has the biggest eyes on it right now. I personally think the Bears job is a little bit more has a little bit more to talk about when it comes to it because of the roster that they have there. I think it's a very good roster. We both talked about their roster preseason. We think it's very, very good. But it's Dallas. So, I mean, that's the story.
All right. So this is what I think happened. We talked about this pre-show, so I'm going to just go over it. Right.
Yep. Go ahead. Give your whole theory, your whole story.
My theory is this. Right. Jerry sat down with Mike McCarthy, and he brought him in, and he went, "Okay, let's not talk about this season. It's silly to talk about what happened. The team was prepared. You didn't have the athletes. Dak went down. I understand all this stuff. By the way, not the first time Dak's gone down in a season. I understand that we paid him the money and we did the best that we could by the kid, but what if you thought about moving off of him? What if we move off of Dak Prescott and we do draft Shador Sanders? I mean, I'm sure we can make that work, right? We could probably send, Dak to somebody for the number one pick. That would work for them. That would work for us. They get a better quarterback or at least a more seasoned player. And and we can get younger and fresher, and it's a whole new Dallas Cowboys. And I think McCarthy was on board with that idea. I think McCarthy went, okay, yeah, there's a lot of things I like about Shador, and I think he does some things well. We have a structure here in place, and the kid's smart. Obviously, he knows a guy that played football.
I just want to say something really quick.
Yeah.
What is Jerry like just as much as winning Super Bowls?
You know what? He likes spotlight.
Yes, he likes
he
the
has
headlines.
money.
He likes the headlines. He loves the headlines. He likes to sell tickets.
So if you're not going to be
do it,
the Dallas Cowboys to me are the Los Angeles Lakers, right? Like, LeBron's not good anymore. Hey, that's a good enough story to last the whole year. If we're not going to be good, and then we'll just bring in a coach that's ornery enough that can deal with the media, like JJ Redick. Do we think he's a good coach? We don't really care. They don't. He might think he is, but this is anyway.
And I said last year about JJ, I thought he was a great hire. So I still like JJ.
But I think he's a great hire for. I think he's a great hire for that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether he can,
because I think he is a good hire because I think he's a young-minded coach that's coming up, but he's a great hire for that situation because I think that's the only guy they could have hired that LeBron actually would listen to.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So and yeah, they know each other well enough. And there's the Duke acumen.
Yeah, they had at least before this. I haven't seen anything recently, but they did have a podcast together.
Yeah. Yeah. So getting back to Dallas, I think that and then Jerry Jones wanted to see how much he can get out of this conversation, right? It's kind of, I'm still paying you. You're still under contract. And then he went, well, he goes, if we draft Shador, I think maybe it'd be a good idea to maybe bring Deion in as like a quarterbacks coach or a consultant. He did well with him at Colorado. He knows the kid the best. Have you and Deion work together on him. And that's where the pride came in with McCarthy, because McCarthy's an offensive coordinator by trade. He's squeezed, in my opinion, the most juice out of every quarterback he's had, right? I think the numbers, although the playoff wins and the Super Bowls have not been there for Dallas, the numbers have been there for Dak Prescott amongst the injuries. The numbers are there, right? He's a top 10 quarterback. And is he without McCarthy? He was on the verge with Garrett. On the verge, not
Garrett.
Huh?
He was there with Garrett. He was up there. He was a top 10 quarterback with Garrett. He was.
Yeah, you can.
And I'll go even as far as that. I think he was a better quarterback earlier with Garrett just because of his athletic ability.
Maybe
when he got hurt. Yeah, when he got hurt. He wasn't quite as fast. He didn't have that quickness anymore. He wasn't able to cut. He wasn't able to elude the pocket anymore as much. Everybody forgets about the young Dak. That young Dak, he had a cannon for an arm, and he would pull it down and run. And he was able to.
So, and that's where I think McCarthy just kind of started leveraging and pushing back a little bit. Mm-hmm. And there was probably a back and forth in that office. I think they're friends. I think they're, comrades, but I just kind of think that it just went back and forth for so long. And Jerry was like, you know what? This isn't going to work, because I kind of want to bring Deion in, you're talking also the same guy that was like, hey, are we drafting Johnny Manziel? No, but that sometimes that gut gets a hold of him. And he went, yeah, if I'm even thinking about Deion, if it's even in my head, my heart 10%, the conversation a little bit here, would I be saying this if I had any other coach in the building? Probably not. So I think our tenure has run its course. Now, do I believe that Deion is going to walk into Dallas and be the head coach? Or do I think Jerry just used Deion for leverage to get McCarthy out? Oh, I don't know. That's quite a question, because Jerry a couple months ago had this to say about Deion Sanders. He said, Deion has done a tremendous job at Colorado, and he's a great coach, And I think what he's done there is exceptional. A lot of compliments right before the but.
Mm-hmm.
But the but came. And he said, "But," he goes, "I'm not sure if what he's done at Colorado and in the transfer portal and the coaching up and all that, I'm not sure if that would work at our level."
Which doesn't make any sense because it's exactly what the NFL does. The transfer portal is free agency for college. That's all it
Well,
is.
I think what he was doing was going, "Hey, Deion, you're a nice coach, but you're a better cheerleader. And all the talent's the same here. And the X's and O's matter a little bit more at this level." And I think at that point, he wasn't considering Deion. I think he was just like, "Hey, kid, I like you. You're always a Dallas Cowboy. Love the stuff that you did here." I think that's what he said. And either he used Deion Sanders to leverage McCarthy out, which is a distinct possibility,
Mm-hmm.
or he is really considering Deion. And this is where Deion needs to be careful, because I don't know, even if Jerry knows what that answer is. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you've been in business for so long, you're rolling the dice going, "Well, I got the money to roll it again." Does he want it to become a story, or is he serious? And for me, if I was Deion Sanders, I think I might just stay in college.
Mm-hmm. Me personally, with the whole Jerry comment, Deion doesn't call the plays. Deion has an offensive coordinator. He has a defensive coordinator. Not everybody is a Sean Payton. Not everybody is a Kyle Shanahan or a Mike McDaniels, a head coach that calls their own plays. You hire the right candidates for that. Dan Campbell, he doesn't call his plays. He ultimately makes the decision whether we're going to go for it on fourth down, whether we're going to do this or that. But he has an offensive coordinator, and a very good offensive coordinator to do that. So that argument there is non-valid for me. You hire the right coordinators. Ultimately, the head coach's job is an overall see of the team, to motivate the team, to make sure everybody's doing their job. In that aspect, I think Deion would be a great hire. And I think it would be a great hire for the Cowboys to do it. And for that aspect alone, he backs his college players 100%. He lets his college players be them, which in college, you get penalized for every celebration you do. He doesn't care. Deion's like, "No, dude, you be you." And I think a lot of today's NFL players would appreciate that, would buy into that. And it's Deion effing Sanders. Like, even your new school people knows Deion. Like, it's Deion. It's prime time. Like, I just think I think that is ultimately the best hire Dallas could do. If they could somehow nab him, I love it. One of the only ways that they're going to be able to do this, if they find some way to unload Dak, which is going to be very tough because the salary cap situation, the dead money situation, and where they could get Sanders' kid. Another story that came out, I think 2 days ago, Deion Sanders went to Colorado, went to the athletic director, say, "Listen, I want to raise for my assistants." Probably not going to get it. Second thing he asked for, he needs more NIL money. They said it's kind of dried up. Deion doesn't get his stuff. Does he move on?
Yeah, I mean, he wants to. Yeah, it kind of dried up, but it hasn't really.
No, dude, they haven't sold out as much as they have in the last couple years. Like that program has made so much money, and Deion has brought that money to that team. So if he needs more NIL money to retool, because they're losing some people this year, they need to retool. They need to pay some of these players that's coming out, that either in the transfer portal, which Deion likes to do, or get that number one player in the country. But that's going to take cash now. And if Colorado starts playing stingy, saying they ain't got the money, We all know Deion. Deion's like, no, I know what I built. I know what I built. I know the tickets that are coming in. I have my own show from this school. Like, I know the money coming in. If you don't give it to me, I'm walking. I can get a job right now. I can get another job anywhere in college football. And there's multiple teams in NFL, I believe, I could get a job in.
Well, and like, okay, so let's also look at so I think it would be a travesty if Deion Sanders went to go coach the Raiders. Because look at the division he's in. Every team except the Raiders were in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You've got championship coaches in that division on every level. Right? Those teams, like the Chargers are in the beginning. And so is Denver. And Kansas City is still in the playoffs as we speak. Right? I think if you go and be the Raiders coach, you're kind of a lame duck, right? Like, it's going to take time and so much energy and maybe just to get to that level. We didn't even think Denver would be there. We just mentioned how great Sean Payton's job was this year that he did. But let's move over a division, right? Listen, the Commanders have quickly turned around. Right? The Eagles, yes, still in the division. Yep. Okay. And by the way, Philadelphia's what they do there, the GM is fantastic, right? He brings in talent. If talent falls to them, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I could very well go easily where the last decade the Eagles has had the best draft. They've top to bottom, year in, year out. Every year you're looking at, wow, good player, good player, good player, good player. Now, whether or not they work out 100%, that's another thing. But ultimately, where they draft is they draft the best person available, or where it's not necessarily a position of need, but the player is too good to pass up.
There's one guy leaves and they have him. So Cox retired, Fletcher Cox, and then they put Carter right in his spot. I mean, Jesus. And Carter's fantastic. So, you're having to deal with Washington. You're having to deal with Philadelphia. Okay. But, New York's not there.
No.
And we don't even think the brain trust up in New York is even we don't think the Giants
no. We both agree with that. We think they need a clean house there and start over.
So even if Dallas does do a little bit of a reorganization, we'll call it, and injuries happen, right? So if something happens, sophomore slump with Jayden Daniels. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but who knows, right? It happened with CJ Stroud a little bit. Then you move on. He's still in the playoffs, but I know the slump happened a little bit in the middle of the season, right? Think of Jalen Hurts. There's nothing perfect about Jalen Hurts, right? He's not like this. He's a great quarterback, but he's not this perfect machine. And then we move on and we go, Deion's got a chance to maybe be number 2 in that division within a couple years. Who knows? He rebuilds the defense and all this other stuff. I don't know. But guys are going to want to come play for him, and he does have an opportunity in that division. As the Raiders coach, I'd stay in Colorado.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just wondering if really the only way to turn around that Raiders team is maybe to trade, and I hate to say it, trade Max Crosby away for a bunch of picks.
Max Crosby's a nice player, but he's not like...
Dude, he's a stud D end. He really is. He's a stud D end. You pair him up on a really good defense. I mean, look what he did with a bad defense with the Raiders. You know what I mean? Like that defense wasn't good enough to where everybody didn't key in on Max Crosby. They still keyed in on Max Crosby, and he still was disruptive. He still got his sacks. That's my point. You put him on a decent defense, watch the hell out. That boy's going to demolish some people. So he does have value, and he has very good value. I'm just wondering if they try to trade him away to get some draft picks, because they're not 1 or 2 players away. They're a team away.
Once they said they weren't going to pay Josh Jacobs because he wasn't worth it, I knew that they were going to lose every game this year. And they didn't. They
Yeah.
won a few, but they shouldn't have.
They won a few.
I mean, that's just
Josh Jacobs wasn't the reason why he had a down year. That team was horrible. That team was horrible.
So Chiefs won yesterday as expected.
Yep.
And then,
well, did the Chiefs win or did the refs win?
No, I think the Chiefs did enough to win.
Okay. All right.
I think they did enough in that game. I think, we saw, we saw some of the same CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud didn't have a lot of weapons. Let's just, when you don't have guys that could separate and you don't have all the tools you need to compete, he made some mistakes but a lot of the mistakes he made, guys weren't open. And I thought he did the best he could by running, using his legs a little bit. But to me, he looked a lot like he did, against the Jets. He came out, he was on fire, and then all of a sudden they switched defenses on him, and he just kind of looked confused enough. That Jets defense did a great job against CJ Stroud. We don't think the Jets were world beaters, but they did enough to frustrate him, and Kansas City did as well yesterday. The surprise of yesterday.
That team's still a little bit away. It still needs a couple weapons, some more depth on that offense, a few more key defensive players for Ryan to mess around with. But they had another good season. Stroud, I think next year really needs to show a lot of development, or we're going to have to start talking about him.
Well, I mean, he did take out Justin Herbert.
No, I'm just saying. Listen, you won a playoff game. All right, I get it. You have a good team around you. You had a great year this year. You had a better year last year. It's time to go a little bit further than what you guys did.
Well, I mean, it is, but his numbers were better in his freshman year. But he got stomped in the playoffs his first year. This year, at least, they won a playoff game, so he's taken steps up. He's taken steps up.
Yeah, they won a playoff game, but if you watched him play this year, he didn't look like his game grew at all.
Yeah, I think everybody got tape on him, and they wanted to now make him be precise in the short field, and nobody likes being a short field quarterback. It certainly doesn't get anybody paid. Precision doesn't get you paid. Bombs get you paid. Again, the midseason injuries really stunted him. That's what I think, because he would have been able to play with just about anybody and didn't have anybody. So you're just like, well, geez, John Michie's fine, and well, he's Nico Collins, but Nico Collins didn't look like himself coming off that leg.
No, he didn't. No.
And so, what am I throwing? I'm trying to make, Dalton Schultz my star and, take the whole team on my back. And he just doesn't have that yet. He doesn't, it's teams that lost players in the middle of the year were never able to totally rebound from the injuries.
I am still pulling.
If the Bucks had Chris Godwin, good luck. I don't know who beats that team. But they didn't, and they had to make do with what they had, and you came up short because you didn't have enough. You just didn't have enough gas at the end. So, then you have Detroit, and I don't. Man, there's gonna have to be conversations in that room because I don't know how the team gets any better.
They can't get better, but injuries was what hurt their season this year. That's what hurt they had nobody to play corner anymore. Those corners that they had, I mean, they were lucky to get Arnold back, but Arnold looked like a shell of himself out there yesterday. Yeah. I just want to get back to really quick about the Texans. I heard a name that you mentioned that I haven't heard in a while, and it's a guy that I'm still pulling for because he's a Bama guy, and that's Meacham. And anybody that knows anything about him is he's a leukemia survivor. He had cancer. That's why he missed his first year in the NFL. That's why he was supposed to be a first-round pick, actually, until that happened. Yeah. I'm still pulling for him. I hope he eventually breaks out and becomes the player that he was in college, because he was a stud for us at Alabama. He really was. So I'm pulling for him. So I hope he does. I hope he gets healthier and healthier and gets a legit opportunity to show what he used to be able to do. If he still can. Again, I don't know. I haven't kept up on his career since he left Alabama, but when you mentioned that name, it brought a smile to my face because, I always love to hear stories like that, guys that have adversity and they just break through and make a career for themselves. So,
But I mean, so yeah, Houston's a couple players away. I think their defense is fantastic. I think the team is very good. They're well put together. Oh, my dad's on here. Here we go.
yes.
I think Lance Newmark will get the GM job for the Raiders. Has been interviewed recently for the position. I don't know anything about Lance.
I didn't either, but no, I mean, they need to get somebody in there.
Well, so when we're talking about general managers, right? You have to have a couple things for me, right? You need to be able to scout players, and you need to be able to work numbers and be able to have relationships with other general managers, right? So you got to have or build general manager relationships. Number one, that's number one for me on the list. Number two, you got to have like a right-hand scout, or you got to be that damn good yourself, because otherwise that division's going to eat you alive. You're in the division with Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Harbaugh. Like the Raiders, I mean, it's gotta be tough to be a fan, right? Because everything has to go perfect. Otherwise, you're swimming in mediocrity. Like you can't. You have to hit. It's the Arizona Diamondbacks a couple years ago, right? The Arizona Diamondbacks a couple years ago, right? They brought in this guy from this other team, right? It's very much Moneyball, but they got to be perfect about it. They need to bring in a great quarterback. Where are you going to get him? You got to bring in a great bruising running back that you had there. Where are you going to get him? Right? Like, what guys are you going to implement? And then you got to get them to believe. And you know what? The Raiders should do? Just bring back Gruden.
Yeah. There was rumors. At one point, there was rumors.
He's kind of the only guy that I would think that, and he's been mentioned for Chicago. Along with Pete Carroll has interviewed for Chicago. I think Chicago's a desirable job, right? You got you got a great fan base. First of all, I mean, you need that. They stuck around. They still scream dick at games. I don't.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They still do.
Right. They love their Jim McMahon. They love the Refrigerator Perry, Walter Payton. Right. It's a great fan base. Yep. Chicago. Right. They got really great deep dish pizza, from what I hear. I haven't had any, but but you have a franchise quarterback. Caleb Williams can absolutely sling it. You're just going to have to give the kid better answers, right? And I like Pete Carroll for that situation because Pete likes to run the ball. And I think Caleb Williams coming out of college is a better talent than Russell Wilson was.
Oh, absolutely. By far. Okay. I mean, Russell Wilson was a third-round pick for a reason.
That's right. So we follow the blueprint of Russell Wilson. And I believe that you can. Yeah, he needs an O-line. He does. But
absolutely.
You know how you can help your O-line by throwing short passes or getting the ball out quicker, or you can give those guys a break too. Not every pass has to be you holding or he's getting off his first reads too slow. That's to be quite honest. And by the time he gets to his second read, he's running around like a chicken with his head cut off. Get to your first read and go. Like that somebody needs to be almost in that kid's ear, clapping every time the ball needs to be out.
Nick does have a good point where he needs an O-line, but I'm wondering, even with an O-line, if he could still play within a system. I told you during the draft when we were going through all the draft prospects, that's my concern with him. Can he run a system? His off-script plays are bar none, some of the best we've seen.
Yeah.
But can he play within a system? Can he play behind a good O-line? We haven't seen that. We haven't seen that with Caleb Williams. So I don't know if he can do that.
A lot of it's kind of just find yourself a buddy too. Some of it's that.
Like it's like Menzel. It's like that guy. Yeah, great off-script plays, chuck it around, run around back there. But as soon as you ask him to run a legit play, run a legit NFL offense, he couldn't do it.
I compared Caleb Williams to Menzel when he came out. Actually, that was my comparison. I say he's Menzel with a better arm.
Yeah,
because to me, or you could even say a right-handed Mike Vick. It's really what he is. I mean, Mike Vick had more athletic ability to run.
Yeah, the quickness, bar none. Vick,
but I'm looking at a 6-foot guy,
but,
6 foot tall, right? He's not super tall. I'm looking at a 6 foot tall guy who does a lot off script, but now needs to be able to do a little bit more. I think he could read all the offenses. And that's the other thing too. Let him make mistakes. Like, let him get beat. He got beat up this year. Okay. Like, I think he's more talented, maybe not as football savvy, but as a Bryce Young looked better this year.
Yeah. After he got benched and came back, he looked a lot better. Before he got benched, we were talking about he doesn't even look like an NFL quarterback.
Well, he didn't.
So, but when he came back from that benching, he looked 100 times better. He actually looked like he was the answer for the Panthers once they looked like they could start building around that guy, as opposed to earlier in the season, it didn't look like they could build around that guy.
Now we'll see if that goes any further because the last couple of games he started to look like mini man again. But
yeah, but they were still. I mean, they beat the Bucs. You know what I mean?
No.
They beat the Bucs second to last game of the year because I lost to them. Or was that the Falcons? No, it was the Bucs.
That was the Falcons. Bucs beat them twice.
Oh, was the Falcons? All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about these games today.
All right. Let me bring up.
By the way, and again, the Lions yesterday got really cute with their offense. I don't like running trick plays when your quarterback is supposed to be, the best quarterback in the building. Jayden Daniels, he's doing things we haven't seen by a rookie before. You want a player comparison? Here comes one. A little bit better accuracy than a Lamar Jackson. There you go. Go. Because the fact of the matter is that Lamar Jackson's only deficiency, and I want to say this because when we talk about these games today, Lamar Jackson's deficiency is on the outside, right? Outside of the hash to the sideline, he's not the greatest accurate quarterback. He's dropping the ball in 50 yards to a wide receiver on the outside. That's not his strength. It's not. That is absolutely not his strength. But Jayden Daniels, I mean, he had a pass perfectly covered. And you saw 2 weeks in a row, he dropped it into Terry McLaurin. And you're like, Jesus, man, like that is perfectly. There was a couple other passes last night. You're like, I don't know. We're going to have to put him in a different league. We're going to have to. Yeah. Chef Nick, he dropped. He dropped a couple in the bucket. And you're like, geez, I mean, this guy's going to be a real problem. I mean, because if he can prance and dance around and move around like Lamar Jackson, but he doesn't even really need to do that. He actually let free runners come at him on purpose because he knew he was going to throw in that direction. Yeah.
He welcomed the blitz last night. He was like, please blitz me. Yeah. Every time I seen a blitz come at him, they had the right call and he dumped it off to the right person. It was absolutely incredible. He put on a show.
Or he knew the D end was going to shift out. So as the D end shifted out and they blitzed on his left-hand side, he let the blitz come and he just ran the opposite way. I mean, he did that a couple times. Look at Detroit had no answers defensively. I don't know. The more you watch that game, the more you sit there and go, Todd Bowles did a pretty good defensive job against that kid.
But also we don't want to take away. Detroit has a very good team, and they had a ton of injuries on that Lions defense. That back end was missing too deep in a lot of positions. I don't want to take anything away from Washington Commanders. They still needed to win the game. They look good doing it. But I truly believe you throw in 2 starters from that back end onto Detroit back in that game. I believe Detroit wins that. But again, I'm not taking any. If I'm anybody, I don't want to play Washington right now. I don't want to play Jayden Daniels right now. I don't want to play.
Well,
that's how good they're looking.
You're right, but Jeff Nick's saying, he's fun to watch. Yeah. I think that, I want Dan Campbell in the offseason. He won't listen to me, but I don't care. Dan Campbell in the offseason I just want him to watch a couple Muhammad Ali fights, because obviously Dan Campbell's a great motivator, and he loves throwing right hooks and uppercuts, right? He's more of a Mike Tyson guy than anybody.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But he needed to throw jabs last night. He needed to throw jabs and work the clock. And we always talk about the fact that if he doesn't know how to work the clock, he could lose games. Well,
we talked about this throughout the whole year. We've talked about his decisions.
Well. He didn't work the clock well, and he lost games. And I know that Jared Goff wanted to, throw for all these yards. And why? You have a tremendous running game. Wear that defense out in Washington. That's not a lot. It's not a real young defense. They got some guys there. But if you lean on Bobby Wagner early, I don't think he'd have the gas late. You needed to run the ball, not pass it.
And it was a defense notoriously all year that wasn't very good.
Run 3 tight ends. Why are you throwing these outs trying to prove that Jared Goff could throw the ball a lot? I mean, the game plan was terrible. I think you need to keep your defense off the field. Well, you could have run the ball, and you said, well, they did run the ball late. Right. But you know what you did too? You got a little cocky. You were up in the game. Washington was down. Washington came back and scored, and you were just like, just got to throw it all over these guys. And then you threw an interception, and then you got a little cute, and then started piling up, and then this, and then that, and all of a sudden, your cockiness turned to nervousness, and you went to halftime. You came out, we're gonna show this team we're in Detroit, and Dan Quinn is just Dan Campbell with brains. I've been saying it all year, right? Dan Quinn's the same type of coach, but I do believe that he can. I wasn't seeing right. Well, maybe he was hurt. Okay, well then if your quarterback is stammering and not being able to get you moving correctly, just keep running it then.
Yeah, you run the ball. You have Gibbs. You have Gibbs, and you got Montgomery back too. Montgomery was in there too.
I mean, maybe he was really bad. They thought that at one point in that game, at a very pivotal point, they thought that Jameson Williams was a better quarterback.
They had Bridgewater in there at one point, and Bridgewater was sitting on the couch 2 weeks ago. Or sorry, he was coaching a high school team 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I'm just saying he was. Yeah, Montgomery was in. Yeah, I seen him. I seen him run the ball a couple times last night. He actually had a key first down near the goal line. Montgomery
I feel like it's a case of a team that was playing for the next game. Actually,
it came out. I seen a thing earlier today when the Lions beat the Vikings last game of the season. At the end of the game, Campbell went up to Kevin O'Connor and said, "We'll see you in 2 weeks." Yeah. So I mean, he was already looking like ahead.
Yeah. No
excuse. No, you're right. Excuse offensively. If you have a banged up quarterback, you run the ball. Yeah. See you in 2 weeks. Yep.
By the way, you should have been running the ball anyway because your defense wasn't very good.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. It was heartbreaking for Detroit fans. It was mismanagement on the coaching staff. I mean, this is probably This is one of the best teams I think we've seen, the most talented teams that we've seen that really didn't do anything.
Yeah. No, this the Detroit team the last 2 years. I mean, you could have put them up there with being the best team in NFL. They're incredible. I mean, they put up 52 points and a half this year. You know,
I mean, let's look at this Detroit team, right? Because I know we look at, and then we'll move on to our games today because I know we've been on, but they were smashing the 49ers last year in the playoffs. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl by halftime.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were completely dominating that game.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, Niners couldn't do nothing. Purdy looked like a shell of himself. Debo, they wrapped him up. McCaffrey wasn't doing anything. No.
All Detroit had to do was run the ball. They seemed that they were probably going to just win it by running it.
Running it and kicking field goals.
Right.
They went for it twice on fourth down where they could have kicked a field goal.
Right.
That would have been 6 points. The Niners would have never been able to come back.
When you're up, guys, and I want to let you guys in on a little secret too. You guys have been hanging out with us for a little while. Here's a little secret. When you're up by 24 points, field goals do matter. Little secret. It's just math.
Listen, a little secret. Even if you're not up by 24 points, field goals still matter.
They do.
All right. When you're down 7-0 and you're in field goal position and you decide not to go for it and you don't get it on fourth down, and then the next possession, or you stop them from getting another touchdown, and then you get the next possession, you decide to get a field goal, and then it ends up being 3-7. You know what? It should be 6-7, dumbass.
Well, the other part of this too is
I'm sorry. This year, more than any other year, I've seen it more and more and more, and it has ticked me off more and more. I went on a rant on here about it a couple weeks ago about how these coaches don't take points anymore.
There's two parts of a go for it. People think there's only one part. All right, there's two parts to a go for it. The first part is this. Wow, we have a lot of confidence in our offense. We know we can get it. It's only a couple yards, right? We've been driving the whole time. The defense is probably a little tired. We're going to go for it.
And that's what Washington does.
Yep, that's the first part of it. Mm-hmm. The second part of it goes like this. I guess the coach really doesn't have confidence that we could stop the other team once we get back on the field. I mean, we're trying our best out here. Why don't they just kick the field goal, take some points, we'll get back on the field and they could start a drive again. I mean, we're really working hard over here. That's your defense speaking, right? So it's confidence in the offense and it's lack thereof for the defense. Right? It's a big deal to me, right? You're telling your defense that we don't really believe in you. It's nice to have you, but, we're going to have to score a lot here because these guys over here, and it's a terrible message to send in the first quarter, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Sending an offensive message, it's not true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll never hear me complain about a team going for it on fourth down if they are chasing points. If you're chasing points, I get it. You have to. Your hands are kind of tied at that point, especially if your defense can't stop anything. That I get it. So you're not going to hear a peep out of me. But these going for it on fourth down when you're inside the 10-yard line, the first drive of the game or the first quarter, and you're down 7-0 already, and you don't want to take the 3 points. You want to try for the fourth down, 4th and 2, and you don't get it. That happened a couple weeks ago. I think it was the Eagles game. Forget who they were playing. They were down 7-0. They went down. They didn't get it. They didn't get the fourth down. They were inside field goal position. And I'm like, why don't they take it? Next, they stopped it. They stopped the team the next time. They go down for the next drive. What does Sirianni do? He kicks the field goal for the next drive. So technically it should be 6-7, not 7-3. But because you're a moron,
but because you're a moron, that's what happens to you.
But there's too many times that comes back at the end of the game and it bites you in the ass, where you need to chase the points because you didn't kick that field goal when you should have.
What's our first line of the day, Greg?
Our first line, we got the LA Rams versus the Eagles. Rams are getting 7 points. Over under is 43.5. Rams are at plus 260. Eagles are at negative 325. Listen, the Rams are a good story. They came out, they beat the Vikings last week, this and that, healthy team, blah, blah, blah. But we're talking about the Eagles now. Hurts is healthy. Saquon Barkley is the best running back in the league right now. They have A.J. Brown, who likes to read in between plays. Smith there, Goddard. That defense is playing a lot better. So, I mean, to me, it's nothing but the Eagles here.
He was reading in between plays, but he's basically.
I just had to throw that in there.
I wish he was reading the book. I wish the book was called The Long Ball.
No, the best would have been Football for Dummies.
No, but the long ball would have been a shot, because if it's at the long ball, it's like, wait a second, is he taking a shot at Jalen Hurts because he can't throw the long ball? Because Jalen Hurts,
once upon a time, that was Hurts' second best part of his game was the long ball. First was his running, next was his long ball.
And now it just, some guys, if you change somebody, Jalen Hurts seems to be the type of player that, if you have him concentrating on something, he's really good at it, but then he fails at the other things.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's true. Philly's just got too much talent. I mean, the Rams.
Nice story.
Rams, huh?
Nice story. The Rams. Very nice story. Good for them. Against all odds this year, all the injuries they had. Very shallow roster, not deep at all. Nice story for them, but they're going to run into a buzzsaw today.
Yeah, the Philly offense was terrible the other week, and their defense just, peddled the Packers. And the Packers are a good team.
Did I not tell you about Deshaun before when he was drafted? I said, watch out for this guy. He can play safety. He could play corner. I said, this is a great, great draft pick by the Eagles. I was upset my Niners didn't take him.
Cooper Deshaun is I'll tell you what, he is the real deal. He will knock your head.
Did you see him decleat freaking Henry?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that until the other day. I finally seen a highlight of it, and I'm like, whoa, are you kidding me? And it wasn't like it was a blind side tackle. He lined him straight up, sized him right up, and put him down. Picked him up, put him right down on his butt.
I mean, he's a big dude from Iowa. That's how they roll out there.
You gotta love those farm boys.
I'll tell you what, shout out to that football program, because they might not have the highest ranking every year, but the guys they send to the NFL are for real.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They're for real. They're the tough guys of the NFL.
Yeah. So I don't see. I mean, what do you like here? Do you see? I like the favorite in the early game.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles and the over.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Eagles in the over.
Likes the over. I'll tell you what. What is that over looking like? What
43.5.
What is it?
43.5. 43.5.
God, there's going to be snow, maybe.
Yeah,
weather up there.
Possible snow, cold weather right now. That's really tough. What I said last week about cold weather, I have a hard time taking any over under when it's too cold. And it is going to be cold up here, guys. I'm in PA. Listen, it is cold up here, and we are expecting a snowstorm. I think the snowstorm is supposed to be more north, more towards us, up here towards Scranton area, as opposed to down south in the Philly area. So I mean, that might be a bonus for them. I couldn't see myself touching this over under for that fact alone.
I'll tell you what, I actually like that over bet, and this is why I like the over bet. I think that over under is tamped down because of the storm.
Right? It very well could be.
Just hear me out. If you're saying that it's supposed to be a little bit more north, everybody's worried about the cold, blah, blah, blah. It might not be as cold because you have that moisture moving in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's it's a little bit, you can live with it. Right. 6 to 8 inches tonight during the game.
Well, my phone said it was supposed to start around 1 a.m. So
Well, I don't know, but
I don't know if things changed since last night. I didn't look, but when I went to bed last night, it said it was supposed to start about 1 o'clock.
All right. Well, in the afternoon?
No, a.m. a.m. a.m.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, a.m.
I mean,
So snow all day, basically Monday morning into Monday. So
okay. Oh, kids will
again,
have no
that could have
school.
changed, but from what I've seen, that's what it was. But again, it's supposed to be brutally cold too. So
Yeah, you got to believe McVay's going to find a way to score some points, though. Here, right?
I agree. I agree.
That Eagles game last week went tragically under.
Yeah.
I mean, I
That's
saw an
the
over
thing.
under at
If
one
the
point at like
Eagles,
28 points.
if the Eagles defense could stop Puka, which nobody has been able to, and then this is going to be a long, long, long night for the Rams.
I like the Eagles in the over. I think that's a good bet, actually.
Okay, I'm not touching the over under, but I am taking the Eagles here without even batting an eyelash. By the way.
Yeah, we like our early favorite.
Yes. Next, we got Baltimore at the Bills. Ravens are giving 1.5. Over under is 51.5. Money line, Ravens are negative 118, and the Bills are at negative 102. So, guys, this is saying even the bookies don't know what's going to happen. I know it says a 1.5 point favorite, but if you guys jump over here to the money line area right here, there's no plus here. You're not even getting even money when you're taking the Bills. You're getting 102, negative 118. So the bookies, the wise guys, they have no clue what's going on in this game. That's what that is showing you.
What do you think is going to go on?
The way everything has been playing out this year, everything's saying Baltimore should win this game. But to be honest with you, I like Buffalo here. I really do.
I think that it's going to go back and forth, right? Both these offenses,
obviously, yes, absolutely.
And it comes down to clock management. It's going to come down to clock management or a little luck. You need a little luck. Buffalo's had a little bit of it all year.
Mm-hmm.
I have to believe in my heart of hearts that, and it happens usually when you get two games. All right, you get two games from the same league in a day. Especially when it's like championship rounds, there's going to be an upset.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens that the upset could be the home team. That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what happens, this game goes back and forth. I do believe that Baltimore has an opportunity to win it at the end. And unfortunately, Justin Tucker's leg don't kick like it used to.
Mm-hmm.
And those hips don't move like they used to. And he'll have a 55, 56 yarder for the game. And he's going to give it hell. But colder weather, different atmosphere, tighter hips, older kicker. And I think for the first time in history, Buffalo fans will be screaming wild after Justin Tucker misses a game winner to beat the Buffalo Bills, and they continue to be the team of destiny. What do you think about that?
I agree. Personally, after seeing how these playoffs are sorting out, I like Buffalo to win it all. Ooh. I really do. I think they're to me, they are my Super Bowl favorites right now. It was Kansas City, but the way Buffalo has been playing, the way their defense is playing, they're starting to feel like a team of destiny. They really are.
Yeah, a little bit.
Josh Allen has never looked better. He has shown how you can have all the talent in the world, but you still need to work on your game. And if you do, this is what happens. Mm-hmm. Like, he is playing like one of the best quarterbacks we have seen. I know we could say the same thing about Lamar, but Josh Allen's knock has always been he turns the ball over at the wrong time. He misses the passes on a big game, this, and this. He has pretty much did everything that we said he couldn't do this year.
Yeah.
Or what his deficiencies were this year. He worked on his game a lot. Same thing with Lamar. Lamar looked like he worked on his passing game a lot this year. Where I think the big difference in this game is going to be is the pressure on the quarterbacks. I think there's more pressure on Lamar. I think Josh Allen has proved that he can win in the playoffs. He proved that he could play well in the playoffs. Lamar hasn't. So I think that what's that?
I think Lamar Jackson has to, maybe he knows this. It could be this, dude. It could be this simple. If Lamar Jackson hits a wide receiver on like a deep pass early, same in the same fashion Jayden Daniels did the other day, you're gonna be sitting there going, Buffalo's in trouble immediately. Because if he can hit one early, then he can own the center of the field. Because you can't, you know what I mean? Unless Buffalo has to make him pass to the outside. As long as they make him sidearm sling it, because that's what he does, to the left or to the right, and get him off of his spots and have him moving and not resetting his feet, that's where you can beat Lamar Jackson. It's, inches really in the playoffs, right? Centimeters, accuracy. And although he's tremendous and he's gotten better, if you're asking for smaller windows, make him throw to the outside, and I think you can have him. Now, he does have a secret weapon here that no one's talking about. I know that everybody's worried about Zay Flowers this, Zay Flowers that.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to see if he is going to play because what I've seen yesterday, he wasn't, and he is listed as doubtful.
I'm not worried about Zay Flowers because I don't think in this situation Zay Flowers would be nice to have because he went to Boston College, so he's used to the weather.
Especially on the outside, too.
He's more of an inside guy.
Where Lamar struggles throwing to the outside.
Yeah, you know what, though? I really think
more.
Rashad Bateman's looked real good.
He has.
And Rashad Bateman, he's dealt with injury designations throughout his first couple of years in the NFL, but his time spent at the University of Minnesota, that dude was a beast. I mean, he really was. He catches everything within 5 yards of him, and as long as Lamar puts it within 5 yards of Bateman, he'll be fine. And he has to remember that. He has to be good, not perfect, because good will win him this game. Right? If you just put it within 5 yards of the guy, give him a chance, he'll get it. Perfect always seems to get Jackson in trouble. He's trying to be perfect. He gets too cute. He starts aiming the ball, and then he's a dead man.
Yeah, I don't see the Bills having a problem with their wide receivers today. I think their matchup problem is because it's going to be the tight ends. It's going to be the inside. Is the matchup inside with those linebackers and safeties. I think that's where it's going to come down to. If Lamar can hit a couple passes on the outside, that's going to open it up even more. So I'm with you on that. Absolutely. They're going to have a long day ahead of them if he can start hitting those passes, because we all know what those tight ends can do with Likely and Andrews.
Yeah, that's a real problem. And if you have Flowers, that's a little bit even tougher. If you don't have Flowers, you're gonna have to use one of those scat backs out of the backfield. Again, I just think Buffalo's a team of destiny. As I was searching for ways that they can, look at Derrick Henry's great, but if you get him moving sideways, you're in good shape. So you're going to have to make Lamar Jackson make quick decisions, because you're going to have to bring blitzes from different areas. And the reason why you bring blitzes is so that you can stop Henry from getting downfield. So no matter what,
I guess it's funny that we talked about this game and took us 10 minutes into talking about this game to mention Henry.
Well, because
I don't think he's a big deciding factor on this game.
I don't either, because I think you could, if you take Henry away and make Lamar just play quarterback. That's what, and he's been great in spots. But
yes, in spots. In spots.
In spots. He's been great at just playing flat out quarterback. But, if you're going to need a throw, he's going to have to make a throw.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Buffalo's going to have to force that. Buffalo's going to have to force one of those throws. Like I said, there's always an upset. And the upset in this case would be Buffalo.
Yeah,
over
but
Baltimore.
is it truly an upset? It might be. It's an upset by the 1.5 point that it's saying. But when you move over to that money line, like I just discussed, it's really not that much of an upset.
Oh, it's not truly an
This is
upset.
basically a pick 'em game.
No, it's not truly an upset, but
You know.
upset nonetheless.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I don't know what kind of money has even moved this game to be 1.5.
Yeah, I didn't see what it opened at, so I couldn't tell you. All I know is the last day that I've looked at it, it hasn't moved.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it could. I think it opened at like 2.5 Buffalo favorite for like 20 seconds. Somebody dropped millions of dollars on it, and then they walked away.
yeah, that sounds
That's what
about right.
moved it. Huh?
That sounds about right.
And then they moved it and moved it and moved it to the point where it's gotten flipped. And I think this game lands on 1 point, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah,
And
probably what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do a nice maybe $20 parlay with the Eagles and Bills and just be done with my day.
that's probably what I'm doing. I'll
You know?
probably, you know what I'll do? Here's what I'll do, because I like doing these things. I'll buy some points.
Mhm.
So I'll take Philly straight up, and this is exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy Philly straight up, and I'm gonna take Buffalo getting 4.
Nice. Okay.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
Trying to make some money, trying to walk
Yeah.
away, unscathed, unwounded. That's what I'm trying to do with today.
Mhm.
Yesterday Detroit beat up on me, and you know what?
Yeah, I
hope
took
City beats up on
the
them.
Chiefs and Detroit in a parlay yesterday, and well, we all know how that worked out. So
I hope the city beats up on them. I hope they burn down Philly, right? I start beating up sand on everybody.
Yeah, no. All right. Well, that should be about it for this week. We got our 2 games this week. I feel pretty confident about our picks. I really do.
Picks are in,
Yeah.
ladies and
Yep.
gentlemen. We're placing them now. Get to the counter. Get your tickets in. What they used to say. I think they used to say
That's
like that.
right. Get your
Take the
tickets.
Eagles at home. Otherwise, they burn the city down. And we can't have 2 cities burning down at once.
No, you cannot.
I'll get heat for saying that, but whatever.
Get heat. That's another one.
Yeah, somebody will be like, "That's not funny." People tell me that's not funny. I don't think that's funny.
Jack's on fire.
Okay, fine. I'm not funny.
Oh, horrible. We're going to get canceled over here before we even get started.
My favorite thing to do.
Oh.
All right, I'm a millionaire.
1,000 subscribers. They think they're big shots, and now look at them. They're canceled.
Canceled. All right, bet is in. The
Bet
picks
is
are
in. Mine will be in as soon as I get off here. I will take my daily pee after this and get my bets in.
All right,
that is the plan.
Guys, we love you all. Please subscribe. Please make money, and we'll see you next Sunday.
Remember, guys, like, subscribe, and be excellent to each other.